Hello and welcome to another episode of Agri Art. Today I'll be doing some speculation on breeding for aesthetics within apples. I'll be covering several cultivars of apple that I think will be useful in breeding new and more aesthetically pleasing apples, both in terms of flavor, texture, and visual appeal. Let's get started. Brownlee's Russet and Rosemary Russet are both russet-style apples that have a nice red blush when exposed to a proper amount of sunlight. Both cultivars have a crunchy texture with a high sugar, high acid flavor with a bunch of other flavor notes. I would argue that the coloration of the fruit is quite beautiful, and worth being painted even. Apparently the Victorian and Edwardian people saw the same, and there are some paintings with depictions of Brownlee's Russet. Brownlee's Russet also has purple flowers, which is unique among apples, which usually have white flowers or pinkish white flowers. These cultivars are resistant to scab and canker, and Rosemary Russet has been studied and was found to pass on resistance to fire blight. This could also mean that Rosemary Russet is also fire blight resistant. Brownlee's Russet, being a sibling of Rosemary Russet, may also have these traits. Rosemary Russet, however, does not have any of the purple flowers of Brownlee's Russet, indicating that they may be half-siblings or inherited a different genetic package from the original cross. A photo depicting Brownlee's Russet alongside a bunch of other apples can be seen on screen, coming up next. Next we'll cover apples with a unique flower and unique flesh. We'll start with Golden Harvey. In my observations of Golden Harvey, the flowers seem to be somewhat bigger in comparison to the other cultivars I've seen, although that could change in the future. I'll give you further updates in the future. Golden Harvey is known not for its yellow coloration, although it is a nice yellowy russet. The inside of the flesh, however, is golden yellow, differing extensively from most of the other common apple fleshes. Based on what I've seen, it's quite crisp and crunchy, but crabapple sized. It also has a unique flavor profile only found in a small number of lineages, found exclusively right now in England and Ireland. Next we'll cover red-fleshed apples. Most of the red-fleshed apples in modern times are derivatives of surprise, and the cultivars that are derived from surprise are oftentimes the best tasting of the bunch. I've had non-surprise derivatives, and they suck, to put it mildly. The surprise derivatives have pinkish flesh, most of them are scab susceptible, and based on what I've read, most of them are fire blight susceptible as well. Golden Harvey is resistant to scab, based on historical data. Ultimately, has unknown resistance to fire blight. Several of the nonpareil crossbreeds, of which Brownlee's Russet and Rosemary Russet are part of, do not have any russet at all, indicating that if you crossbreed a nonpareil derivative with something that is not a russet, you'll get not a russet sometimes. I know that's kind of vague, but there's a great deal of variability from each seedling, in terms of appearance and everything else, so it's always a little bit fuzzy what gets inherited and what doesn't. But in red-fleshed apples, there are traits that are always carried over. Great flavor, pink flesh, and mealiness, at least when it comes to the surprise variants. When it comes to overall red-fleshed apple inheritance, the only two traits that are always passed on are mealiness and red/pink flesh. So it'll be a tough road to hoe if you're going to be breeding with these in an attempt to breed for crispness within red-fleshed apples, as well as disease resistance, since it seems to be hard to do that as well. But combining red with russet to create new red apples seems to be quite doable, which brings us to the next slide. Rennet de Carmes, unlike the other main red apple cultivars, are not derived from Macintosh, Jonathan, or Red Delicious. Rennet de Carmes is a founder on its own, and has led to a bunch of different genetic lineages. Adams Perrimain, King of the Pippins, and Orleans Rennet are prominent examples. These three have unique flavor profiles that are quite nutty or aromatic. Orleans Rennet being described as tasting like a combination of citrus, pear, and apple. Adam's pearmain being a flavor akin to apples and nuts, and came to pippins being a combo of different flavors. All three cultivars are said to be resistant to scab. There is some historical information that suggests that Adam's pearmain and King of the Pippins are resistant, at least partially, to fireblight. And I've seen mixed information regarding resistance to fireblight in Orleans Rennet. Regardless, crossbreeding these cultivars with something like rosemary russet or brown leaves russet could be a great way of breeding new red apples that are far more genetically divergent from the main founders. The original Cox Orange Pippin, which is a reddish orangey apple, was made by crossbreeding rosemary russet with margil. So theoretically speaking, could get similar results using other red apple specimens, but that's just speculation. And that about covers everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you really enjoyed it and think you can donate, you can do so at Buy Me a Coffee, link in the description below. Thank you for watching.